Hey y'all, Brother Zegos here with some thoughts about the future of our country, the Union, United States of America, what have you, call it whatever you want. It's imaginary borders put up, have structural validation um, in no other reason that we have borders that have checkpoints and walls and laws that dictate thusly. Um, but there is a very apparent distinction from these borders as to what their representative color is, and to a degree, that color being red or blue, as defined by red being Republican, blue being Democrat, even though red is originally the color of communism. So another little juxtaposition created by the media back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s or something, where I think it was late 70s, where they came up with calling Republicans red states, Republican states red states, for some kind of a incidental reason, but probably be also very strategic in its own way. Just flipping the script, just like all of a sudden in during the civil rights movement or whatever, all of a sudden the Republicans became, the racist party all of a sudden, even though they had the first black senators. They had the they were in opposition to the Democratic created Ku Klux Klan and all that kind of stuff. But yet they were still able to flip the script and convince us all, because that's what the media does, and that's what politicians do, and that's what both political parties do, is try to confuse us all the time by playing little games. And so now we have a readily apparent difference between these parties, and that being lockdown measures, civil liberties, constitutional rights, and things like that seem to be a little more intact generally in red states. And in blue states, not so much, even across the board. Blue states have the memo, and they're following it to the letter of the law, or the letter of the word. Because the blue states are, I guess like Mayor Lightfoot from Chicago, they pledged allegiance to the New World Order. She's on record saying it. It's on video, audio, everything. There's people pledging allegiance to the New World Order. She said it right straight out. It's probably what's going on with a lot of these politicians, particularly in the Democratic Party, that are been assigned the blue color. And the blue pill, really, it's kind of like this. It's pretty similar. And yeah, I'm not saying Republicans are great anymore, but we're getting an actual physical representation of this very minute difference from one party to another. What is allowing freedoms to be enacted, such as running your business, not wearing a face mask, to some degree. I guess that's not true in Texas everywhere anymore, unfortunately. But it seems to be a little more stricter and a little more enforced in the blue states. The party of peace and love and equality and diversity, supposedly. But no, they're the authoritarian psychopaths that seem to that push a big lockdown narrative, fear-mongering, COVID bullshit, and then turn around and give a free pass to rioting and looting. I mean, it's just like, whoa, that's it does well if you're rioting and looting or protesting, whatever. I mean, I know there are protesters and they're separate than the rioters and looters, but it was the media that kind of lumped them all together. So we can blame the leftist media, the liberal media, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, whatever, that all NPR, that all, kind of took the same script, saying basically, saying a protester and a looter are the same thing. It's not. I mean, it's not. But that's what they did. That's what the leftist media did. So that should piss a lot of people off and wake a lot of people up that maybe were peacefully protesting. But it really just brings out the contradiction of, it really just shows the narrative that it's not about a virus, and it never was. And they're just flexing their control. And a lot of people are too traumatized to turn back against the fear that's been induced by this spell. It's been placed on so many people by the media. So, we're left to our own devices and our own personal constitution, in addition to the Constitution, to not wear a mask, not follow the orders, and disobey unjust laws. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, fuck, dude, if this place don't want you, and it wants everyone to assimilate into the Borg and just wear their masks irrationally everywhere, hide their shame, then, well, we might just have to move to another state, one that will let me not wear a mask and do and work and be able to buy food and have a house that I pay for and I live in, because if I can't work, then probably ain't gonna be able to afford all those things, as aforementioned utilities. So basically, what is going to happen to the entire western seaboard of the United States, New York City, and also in a lot of the eastern seaboard that are all blue as fuck? Because I'm not going to stay in Portland, Oregon. That's where I am. And it's like, why? It's like, this is not a safe place to be if I want to, like, have an independent mind, body, and occupation, because that's what I do and that's what I want to do and that's what I've been striving to do my whole life. So I'm worried because we're in this position now that these cities where a lot of people are going to be leaving, and maybe they shouldn't. Maybe a lot of people shouldn't be. Maybe conservatives, Republicans, libertarians, classical liberals shouldn't leave these states and hold the ground for a righteous cause, which is freedom of speech, the Second Amendment, freedom of health choices. Maybe they should hold the ground, but I'm leaving because this is where my roots are on the West Coast. They're not my roots. So when I leave and other people like me leave, what is going to be left in these cities that are basically ports for commerce? I don't know. Probably about a bunch of robots doing the job, fully automated. We don't need you anymore because we have robots. And what else do you have? NPC, liberal arts majors from like that have gender studies degrees. They're like experts in diversity and inclusion, and they have a job where they just go around and say things representing some kind of philanthropic nonprofit or board or something, where they do absolutely nothing but like control people with their insane ideology and their empty words. So if you I'm saying this is kind of disturbing that this is what could become of these blue states. Um, that I mean, we're talking what the Lord of the Flies shit we're seeing now. What is that going to be when these states are completely devoid of productive citizens and just psychopathic people that believe insane ideas and are just hooked into computers? I mean, I'm not saying they're going to be hooked into computers, but they're not going to. They're going to be completely malleable, citizens. I feel like, and that brings into the other I end of this is like, well, the New World Order or whatever, like Lightfoot said, is going to be all these governors like Gavin Newsom in California, Kate Brown in Oregon. I mean, I don't know where she is. I think she's just asleep. And I can't remember the Washington governor, whatever, but the governors are really the big players in this new game. They seem to all be pretty ready to like just hand everything over to China. The globalist system that's using the corporate power of China to, take over all parts all over the world, but in particular, they got their sights set on the United States, obviously. So these Western states, in particular, because we're closer to where I am and where I've grown up, and some of the Eastern states, but particularly the Western states, this is like this could be the introduction of the Chinese communist system into the continent, and we know we have on the East Coast we have basically the same thing with a democratic control of most of the East Coast too. So and we know that most of the EU is down with the United Nations, which is down with the New World Order and the WHO and all of these acronyms. So where does that leave us? Landlocked, free men and women that live in the inner states. I mean, so I'm just trying to think what is going to become of the future if we're not holding our ground. I mean, someone has to hold the ground, right? I mean, I don't know what to do. That's what I'm saying, because I'm leaving. I'm bailing. I don't really even like it here. I never liked it here. I've lived in Portland almost 14 years, and it's horrible. Like, I don't like it. I despise it in a lot of ways. Funny as that might sound, I don't know. Don't ask me why I'm still here, because I got into some shit, and it started, and then I was like, oh, I can't leave. I'm doing this new thing. So, but now that new thing isn't consistent. It's not worth it. It's not reliable. So now, it's time to go. But what does the future hold? I mean, what is it? I mean, that's not like where I'm going is going to necessarily be that good either, because it's like this corruption, this communistic corruption has just leached into everything, into all the colleges, all the minds, all of the politics is now completely corrupted by psychopathy, virtue signaling, ideology known as intersectionalism, more or less. I mean, it's the new religion that is complete nonsense. It's because it's basically just Marxism inverting rational thought into a device to divide and conquer. I feel like that's what the Stasi tactics. That's communist tactics of all kinds. That's Antifa tactics. It's what the actual idea of it is, to subvert everything through lies and deception. It's really like they just read the Machiavellian handbook and just went all in, even for purpose. There's not even really reason behind any of it, except for just to like break the soul. I mean, really, that seems what the is behind communism and Marxism and these ideologies. There's like no, it's just based on total lies. It's based on control only and nothing else. So, anyways, just something that was on my mind. I didn't really, I obviously, I'm not really, didn't put a lot of pre-planning in this video, but just some thoughts about what the future is going to hold and what's coming and how we're going to deal with it. Just some things to think about, no matter where you are, in the world, or in the United States of America, or in, China or something. It's like, these are things we all got to think about, right? Well, until next time, it's nice talking to you, and I will see you in the next one.